Mountain Home Seventh-day Adventist Church. Welcome to Sabbath School.
Stolen money. Edison's eyes widened as his friend pulled the money from his pocket. He saw a $20 bill, 3 $10 bills, and a bunch of smaller notes. His friend, Antonio, had 100 Trinidad and Tobago dollars, or about US $15. I stole this, Antonio said with a big smile. I want to buy something. The two 15-year-old boys were walking across the street from the public school in Bonaire, a town in Trinidad and Tobago. Antonio hungrily eyed food stalls selling fried chicken, fried fish, and fried pies alongside the road. He stopped and handed $20 to Edison. What do you want to buy? He said. Edison was hungry, and he took the money. None of the street food, however, looked appetizing. I don't want to buy anything here, he said. I'll buy something to eat near my home. The next day, teacher called Edison into his office. I was just talking with Antonio about someone stealing $100 from a girl's purse yesterday, he said. Antonio said that you stole the money. Is that true? Edison felt very sad. He told teacher about his conversation with Antonio and how he had accepted $20. Teacher was glad that Edison hadn't stolen the money. But you still did the wrong thing by accepting stolen money, he said. The next day, Edison found himself back in teacher's office. Also in the room was the school principal, his mother, Antonio, and Antonio's mother. You are a good child, the principal said to Edison. How did this happen? I'm sorry, Edison said, sadly. It will never happen again. The principal announced that Edison would be suspended from school for 7 days, as punishment for accepting stolen money. Antonio was suspended for 1 month for stealing the money. Both boys were required to make restitution to the girl, by giving back twice the amount of money that they had stolen. Edison borrowed $40 from his mother to give to the girl. That evening, Edison's father called when he heard about the school suspension. He and mother were divorced, and he lived another town. You should go to church, he said. Yes, I should, Edison agreed. And he meant it. He hadn't gone to church since he was a small boy. He looked around his home for a church. It had to be within walking distance, because he didn't want to ask his mother for money to take the bus. Then he remembered that there was a Seventh-day Adventist church only a 15-minute walk away. He went the next Sabbath, and found everyone to be friendly and welcoming. He went again the next Sabbath, and then the next. 3 years passed, and big evangelistic meetings were organized at the church. Edison invited his family to go with him, and they did. At the end of the meetings, Edison was baptized together with his mother, grandmother, 12-year-old brother, 9-year-old sister, and an 11-year-old cousin. I am happy, Edison said. Now we celebrate Sabbath together, and we have the same love for God. Today, Edison attends an Adventist high school, Caribbean Union College Secondary School, on the campus of University of the Southern Caribbean. He is a real missionary for bringing his family to Jesus. University of the Southern Caribbean wants to train more missionaries, and part of this quarter's 13th Sabbath offering will help open a missionary training center on the university.
Micaiah, and today's scripture is 1 Thessalonians 2:2. We have previously suffered and been insulted in Philippi, as you know, but with the help of God, we dare to tell you his gospel in spite of strong opposition. That's today's scripture. Have a good Sabbath.
Lesson 6. Too good not to share. Have you ever tried to explain your belief in God to someone else? When? Have you ever felt embarrassed or frightened because you were a Christian? How can you follow Jesus and serve others in spite of the prejudice they may have toward you? A story from Paul's missionary journeys helps explain how the followers of Jesus may deal with challenges. Two weary-looking men trudged toward Iconium as the sun was setting. "We had to shake the dust off our feet as we came to the last city," said one of the travelers, smiling, "but it looks like my feet are all dusty again." He looked at his companion, hoping that a little humor would bring a smile. Their trek east over the mountains from Antioch had been a tiring one. Paul looked up as if he had just now realized he wasn't alone. Paul was often like that, so intense he almost lost contact with people around him. "But the believers we did leave in Antioch were so full of joy. I would go through all the hassle again just to see the looks on the faces of those who believed what we told them about the Messiah. Do you remember their joy when they realized that through Jesus, God could be right with them all the time?" Barnabas nodded in agreement. "Well, we're almost to Iconium," said Barnabas, looking around as they headed through the small merchant stalls on the outskirts of town. "Let's ask for directions to the Jewish synagogue." They had agreed that they would begin their work in this Greek town exactly the same way they had in the larger Roman colony of Antioch. They would preach first at the synagogue, where Jews and even Gentiles were looking for the coming of the Messiah. The synagogue worshippers were pleased to have visitors who had come from Jerusalem with messages to share. Once in a while, visitors came from Jerusalem with the news for the Jewish communities spread throughout these Greek hills. Often, they came only to collect the tithes and offerings to be taken back to Jerusalem. Any such visitors were always welcomed, and so were Paul and Barnabas. The first Sabbath that they were there, they began sharing their good news about the Messiah. For a time, all went well. Paul preached in the synagogue several times a week. Paul and Barnabas visited Jews and Gentiles alike in their homes and at their places of business. Wherever people were interested in hearing about Jesus, Paul and Barnabas shared. But not everyone at the synagogue, nor everyone in every home or every business, felt the same way about their message. As when friends and families disagree about something important, the Jews began to argue with one another concerning Paul and Barnabas. Many of the Jewish leaders did not believe that this wonderful message about the Messiah was true. Some of them were jealous that so many people were listening to Paul and accepting the good news. They were especially furious when God blessed the work of Paul and Barnabas with miracles to show that he was with them. The Jewish leaders who opposed the teaching about Jesus convinced many Gentiles to reject this message as well. They wanted the town officials to tell Paul and Barnabas to stop sharing the message about Jesus and leave. Then things could go back to the way they had been. The synagogue leaders could be in charge again. When the town authorities questioned Paul and Barnabas, or any of their followers, they found that their answers were clear and sensible. They couldn't press any charges. So many of the new believers were becoming good and orderly citizens. How could the authorities deny that? In fact, the more jealous people tried to point out what was wrong with the new message, the more people believed in it. Finally, the Jewish leaders who were so jealous and angry decided to do something about the situation themselves. They got an ignorant, noisy mob who didn't really understand what was going on and created a huge riot. They hoped it would end in the death of Paul and Barnabas. They hoped Paul and Barnabas would not have another chance to defend themselves before the authorities. Friends of the two messengers found out about the plot. They hurried to tell Paul and Barnabas. "Don't run the risk of getting hurt by this mob," they warned. "The message you have to share about the Messiah is too wonderful. Leave for a while so you can come back and teach us later." Paul and Barnabas did as their friends suggested. They left before the angry mob could stone them. But they would be back. The news about Jesus was too wonderful to keep to themselves.
Some problem, so my mom helped me put the string in. So you grab your tape, put it on the party streamers, put it in there and stick it to that side. Then you put on the other one. Stick it on that side. And you're done.
Hold it by the string. I can't see.
Hi. My name is Thierry. I'm going to be doing arts and crafts today. We're making a paper bag kite. And I already had my bag, I already decorated. I had the party streamers, this, and I had poked a hole in the bottom with a pencil. We have tape and glue if you need it. Okay, so first, you put this into the hole in the back.
What is it? What is that called?
Paper bag.
And what else you have?
Kite. I don't
The
know.
string.
Yeah, that's a good point. Get it? Point.
There's already a hole.
No, that thing doesn't fit through. She made her hole really big. Can you turn it